Another day in lockdown. Every day the same. Back in the shed. I don't mind. Yeah. Life's the world's even more interesting since all this happened, lockdown and everything, coronavirus and all the bad things. Because when bad times come along, that's when interesting times come along. When you're watching them from your shed, which I don't, the information comes to me. I don't go looking for it; it just comes to me. Information, yeah, and I don't mind making what are the podcasts? YouTube clips about stuff that people are telling me. I don't necessarily want to make YouTube clips about stuff that people are telling me, but I feel, well, Kanye West said, because he was asked, why do you keep talking, or making rap songs or whatever, why are you always talking about stuff? If you talked a lot less, you'd have a happier life. For a start, I think he said, I've got a pretty happy life. And I'm in that boat. And people say, you talk too much, but it doesn't make me less happy. So why would I stop? But people do give me advice. Well, they give me all kinds of advice, designed to enlighten me. And the advice I've been given overnight is to be careful. I'm just sitting sideways today because I sat front on yesterday, and I'm going to watch the chickens. They're out there. Hang on, I'll show you. G'day, chickens. That's Salt in the hatch. She's been ostracised and she's got mental problems. I'm not kidding. These three always stick together. You've seen that in previous episodes, possibly, but I could video these guys all day long, and you would find that Salt has been ostracised. Okay, Pepper over there, the black one, in the pecking order, she's boss. She's first out of the hatch every morning. We've got an electronic hatch. It comes up at dawn automatically, but one morning someone forgot to shut the gate over there. So what happened was, and I thought that it was great when we got the electric hatch. Goes down at sundown and comes up at dawn, and I thought this is great, because I was getting up every morning, and I was having to open the hatch, and I thought, I can sort of stay in bed now because it's pretty freezing. We're in July, and then one day someone left that door open about sort of a week ago. So the girls said to me, Charlie, but that's not my real name, Damien, Dad, every morning when the electric hatch comes up, can you just get up just before that? What? Make sure the door's closed. Anyway, so I thought, no, I'll do that at night. I'll forget one night, though, and I'll have to collect up what's left of the chickens in the morning. After that black cat comes around. There's a black cat that comes around and just sits and watches them. Hello, Salt. You the ostracized thing? You bastards. She's got mental problems. She's noticed me now, Salt. Anyway, so I nearly dropped the phone. Where was I? Where's my coffee? Yeah. So I've been cautioned to make this episode, and this is the episode that I'm making as a result of being cautioned. And it's for the titles I've been given. Well, I've been giving my episodes, you know. My childhood turned me into a Nazi, you know. Oh no, now my children won't get a job in 20 years. You know, in 10 years when they're going for a job, they'll do a Google search and there's Charlie, you know. He said he was a Nazi. I'm not really a Nazi. You know. I'm an Australian. And so when I say I'm a Nazi, it means I'm not. If that's not clear straight away as an assumption, then all is lost anyway. There'll be no, you know. But my kids deserve everything they get. Bastards. They bully me relentlessly. You know. They send me out every morning before dawn, and they tease me. You know. My son this morning even, and every day, all day long. They call me everything under the sun, all of them. And, like this morning, my son, he was asking me Disney questions. I was trying to get some work done. I had 5 hospitals panicking this morning because something in my software wasn't working, you know. So up early, you know, because they will get up at 7. What's wrong with those guys? You know, they got chickens. So there I am, you know, and tappity tap, you know, tap, tappity tap, you know, tap, you know, and fixing their little problem, which was their fault anyway. But, you know, you always say, yeah, all right, you got to take the blame. Nobody likes a sook. I would never point out that it's nearly always their fault. Just fix it. They don't care. Anyway, my son's asking me Disney questions while I'm trying to get my work done. It was complicated. I'm deep in the code, you know. Tab, you know, it's complicated maths, you know. The logic, what's gone wrong here, you know. The raw data they were feeding me was wrong. Date modified. They added an extra column, you know, which, they haven't done that for 6 months. You know. But anyway, he's asking me Disney questions, and it's all to do with Rapunzel and everything, you know, steal the baby, you know, and all that sort of stuff. And I said, oh, see, this is the thing, I said to him, you know, you try and hand out your little life lessons. And I said, see, this is the thing about, you know, having loved ones and being a parent and all that sort of stuff. There are things worse than death. There are things that can be taken away from you that would leave you bereft, you know. And those things, you know, you'd rather your own life was taken off you, I was saying to my son, you know. And I said, so what do you think those things are, you know? What's the thing that someone could take off me that would destroy me? Yeah, would destroy me. Yeah, and I said, I'll give you a clue. It's not my life. I don't care about that. And my son was standing there in the kitchen, you know, still asking Disney questions, and he went, "That? That's bullying. He deserves everything he gets when he gets older, you know." So if some would-be employee, no, some would-be employer refuses to give him a job, then that is punishment for all the bullying that he meets out on his poor old father. To hell with you. Struggle on. Have your own Mein Kampf. I'm watching you, Charlie. Yeah, but kids, you know. Alright, so I made an episode that suggested I was a Nazi, you know. But it didn't. Now, obviously. You know, you can tell just look, if you were a Nazi, would you actually say it? Yeah, my childhood turned me into a Nazi, you know. It's almost apologetic anyway. And in that episode, I said I had polio as a child. That's wrong. I didn't. Now, that's wrong. What are some of the other episodes I've done? I can't even remember. There was one episode in which I said I was going to eat these chickens. Finger-licking chickens. I wrote a song about it. How I want to eat the finger-licking chickens. Now, my daughter, the middle one, that's likely, she's going to need counselling for that. In this day and age, she's going to watch that. And she's going to say, "Oh, Dad, you're going to eat, you said you were going to eat my chickens. I took that seriously. I'm sorry. Please say sorry on the, make another episode and say sorry." So sorry, everybody. Sorry. For not saying, and this reminds me of what I'm doing here. It reminds me of the 2 stages of grief when you get caught. Because that's when people really go into grief. Besides in the other, there's that other scenario, where someone kills you, and you go into no stages of grief. But there's this other situation, where people. Now there are 2 stages of grief when you're caught doing something bad. It's not immediately. Oh, it actually is actually. And I'll tell you what those 2 stages are. I learnt this recently. I have a very close relationship with somebody who, and someone else did something really bad to him, and I'm not kidding, really bad, and I'm talking really bad. I can't even describe it, but anyway, and that bloke, his initial reaction when he got caught was to fall into pieces. He broke down and he was crying and he was hugging my friend. Oh, my daughter's out there. Hugging my friend, so I better make this short. She'll find out that I'm talking about her chickens. And, crying, like broke down completely, like a puddle on the floor. And then that night I went and visited a friend of mine who's a very good friend, and she is an investigator where I work in IT, and she's the one who, because if you plug your phone into your computer at work, if you, and it says, "Oh, would you like to, you want to press this button, do you want to sync, whatever, all your metadata goes onto that computer, and it's likely to anyway, depending on your settings. Anyway, point is, if you agree to the first thing that pops up on your phone when you plug your phone into work to charge it or something, suddenly everything you've been doing on your phone, that is known. It's really easy. And for IT people in a workplace to know that stuff, and they're watching all the time in the big organisations. And in our organisation, my friend is watching that stuff all the time. And she said there's 2 stages of grief, and she told me about this when I went around and visited her. And she said when you first confront the person, it's usually really bad stuff that I don't even want to talk about. And some of them are stupid enough, of course. You can always rely on stupidity to be doing the bad stuff on the internet. On the work computer, but most of them are caught by putting their phone in. And anyway, caught, doing the really bad things. Everything he's ever done bad on his phone was known, and she says every single time, the instant they are caught, they break down, and they're lying on it. They're just curled up like a baby. Grown men. It's usually men. In the fetal position, begging for forgiveness and all this sort of stuff. She says it's pitiful to watch, and then She says, it's amazing. That night, they go home, they're going to get charged or whatever, sacked at least, and they steal themselves that night. And the next day, the second stage of grief is diversion. They say, you think I'm bad, half these other people that I work with are doing much worse than me. She said that's the second stage of grief. I think that was the only one. Yeah. I think that could be summarised as the second stage of grief is stealing yourself. That's how I'd put it. And you come back and all that crying in the fetal position and everything the previous night is forgotten. It's like it never happened. It's interesting. So I didn't know about all that. And I said, and guess what? My friend the next day, because my friend, he was wrapped, because this person who had done a bad thing to him had, cried on his shoulder, like actually hugged him. And this is a real story. It is. I speak a lot of bullshit on this podcast, but this actually was something that happened. Behind all comedy is some serious stuff, So I'm slipping in some serious stuff here. Only the names have changed, And the next day, you wouldn't believe it, that person who had collapsed on my friend's shoulder, and they both said they loved each other and all that sort of stuff. And it was a really touching moment, and my friend felt, this resolves a lot. This resolves a lot. It actually resolved a lot for my friend, and you wouldn't believe it. Over that night, overnight, the other person came back the next day, and overnight that person had steeled himself and had flipped and started to attack. And my friend was in a worse position than he was in previously. And not only that, the friend garnered support amongst all his friends, and my friend was in a worse position afterwards. It would have been better never to have let that friend know he had been caught, because he fought. And I was going to make a joke there at the end of this one. That's what was going through my head. I was going to say, and that's what happened to me last night, I got told that that I had been a bad boy in all my previous episodes, speaking a lot of bullshit, and all of it was bullshit, and I was going to say that that was going to be the punchline for this episode. I was going to say, and then I collapsed in a fetal position. I would have made that whole joke, and I was crying. I'm sorry for saying I was a Nazi and saying I was a bad polio. I'm sorry. I was going to say all that stuff. Sorry for eating your chickens. And but given the gravity of that story I just told just now, I think I won't finish off with a punchline on this occasion. End of episode.